good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good and wonderful people of the tube. Hope all today, hope you're feeling grand and when you will. Hello everybody. Today, people of the tube, we are talking orange pedals. Not one, not two, but 3 orange pedals. These were new out last year, and I finally got round to reviewing them. Orange actually sent me these last year, but I haven't actually got round to reviewing them yet. So here we are now. So in the intro jam, you heard the phaser pedal. There's 3 pedals in this line. There's a phaser, there's a sustain pedal, which is kind of like a compressor, and a distortion pedal, which is, well, the distortion, Dave. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, they are what they are. So I really like these pedals, but what I do not like is the size. These things are humongous. You know, they are big pedals, and they're also really, really deep as well. Like, you know, they're big every way. And I understand, I know what's going on. You know, they're supposed to be kind of like reproductions of, you know, these pedals that never were kind of thing, and they're supposed to be kind of like old 70s style pedals, but 70s. So we don't need to make pedals this big anymore. And I've got to say, they're kind of space hogs on a pedalboard. They sound fantastic, as you will hear in a minute. I love them. They sound amazing, which I kind of wasn't. I didn't expect anything when these arrived. I was kind of like, I cleared my mind. Like, I just kind of was like, no, I'm not going to expect anything, and I ended up really enjoying these pedals. The one I didn't like the most was the distortion, and I'll talk about that more at the end. Anyway, after you've heard them, because, you know, I want to explain that after you've heard them. But I'll say that they're a bit too big. In my personal opinion, they would have been better trying to fit these into an enclosure the size of like a Boss pedal or something like that. They're really, really big. They're really, really deep. They always look really shocked as well on the back end. Oh! Have you heard the news, Henry? What's that, Mildred? Well, I heard that Orange made us rather big. Did they? Yes, they did. I've lost my mind. But yeah, people with tube, that is my one complaint with these pedals, is they are far too big. Other than that, I really have enjoyed messing around with these pedals. They're really, really cool. They do look cool. I will give them that. They do have the vintage vibe about them. But, like I say, trying to get these on the pedal board, I mean, I'll show you my board in a minute. They're very big and they sit very proud of everything. And again, I get the idea. They're supposed to be retro and vintage. But personally, I think Orange could have actually made these a lot smaller, and I reckon it would have been better in the long run. Personally, just my opinion. What do you reckon, people tube? Your thoughts and comments let me know in the comment section below. So, anyway, enough on that. Other than that, do they sound great? Yeah, they do. They sound really cool. I really like the way these things sound. The phaser is really nice. It's a really warm, rich phaser. And again, it really is that 70s style of phaser. It reminds me of Scott Gorham. You know, it really does. It reminds me of Thin Lizzy and you know, people like Scott who used a phase. I think he used the phase 100 and the phase 90. I think he's had both. But it reminds me of that kind of sound. You know, it's got that kind of watery, warmth, warbliness that we all know and love. So, it sounds great. The compressor, the sustain pedal is really, really cool. You'll hear that in a sec. Like I said, the one I don't particularly like is the distortion. Simply because I really think this would benefit from having a tone dial. You've got no control over the tone of this pedal. So if you've got a bright amp, this is going to be harsh. And I'll show you that when we get to it. Sustain pedal, though, is fantastic. This is a great kind of compressor sustain pedal. It's really, really cool. Anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm going to plug them all in. I'm going to be using the Glorious CL120 today. We're going to be using my East Coast guitar today to cover all bound. And basically, going to start with the phaser. I'm going to let you hear it in isolation now. Then we'll go to the sustain, and we'll finish on the distortion. As I say, the distortion is my least favourite of the 3. It's okay. Let's just put it that way. It's good, but it's not as good as the phaser or the sustain, in my opinion. Again, it's alright. Anyway, and again, the size just bothers me. So what I'm going to do now, people are due, I'm just going to take the camera off and show you what I mean about space. Because I say, these things are big. And if you were to have all 3 on this on a pedal board, that's a lot of space gone. Where you could potentially have, you know, especially in today with the modern mini pedals that are about this big, you could have a lot more. You know, you really could. So let me just show you what I mean. So I'll show you where the phaser is. Okay, Bootatube. So here you go. This is what I mean. Look at the size of this thing. And not only kind of like, you know, kind of like that way around, but look how tall this thing sits. It's really, really high up. And again, it's a big pedal. If you look at the DS2 and then come back over to this thing, it's very, very big. And again, if you want to, I mean, one cool thing about these things is they're top-mounted jacks and power supply, so you can actually, if you want to use these things, butt them up against each other like that. That's great, isn't it? Yeah, you can, I'll do it here with these two. You can run them side by side like this. You don't really run the risk of fat foot in them either, unless your foot is massive, because they are so big. You know, there's my hand for scale there. But it's still, you know, if you think like, you know, that's butting up there, that's a lot of space. That's a lot of space taken up there. And I just think that's a bit of a, you know, shoot yourself in the foot dealy there. But again, do they sound great? Yeah, they do. Do they look cool? Oh, they look cool. But I reckon for today, they're a bit too big. They're a bit too big. Again, I understand why they're made in that way, but I don't know. For me, it's a bit of an oversight. But I love the old orange font on there, and I love, like, you know, that harks back to the olden days, if you will, where, you know, this is basically what you had: phaser, sustainer, distortion. But again, you know, the size is an issue for me. But they are cool. And again, anyway, that's enough waffle, people. Let me show you them. So we're going to start with the phaser, and then we're going to go on to sustain, and then you're going on to the distortion. So, yeah, without further ado, let's go. Oh no, YouTube, there you go. That's the 3 new orange pedals. Well, kind of new now. Last year, but you know what I mean. So you heard the phaser, the sustain, and then distortion. Out of all these, I think my favourite is the phaser. I just like how warm it is. I like how kind of seasick it can get when you crank it. But I really like it. I like how it whooshes around the place, and it's not a Phase 90. It's not it's not trying to be a Phase 90. It's definitely its own kind of phaser, which I like very much. Don't let the orange enclosure distract you. But yeah, I do like it. And again, it's as simple as can be. It's one dial, you know. I mean, it's really, really cool. And I just like how warm it feels and sounds when you play it. It's just really cool. So that's my favourite out of the 3. My second favourite is definitely Sustain, the compressor pedal. This thing's really cool. I forgot to mention as well, on the level dial, this one here, when you put it at 12 o'clock, there's like a centre detent. So that's kind of like a neutral kind of like, you know, spot, if you will. And then your depth controls how much compression you want, basically. It's a really cool compressor. It adds thump. I don't know how well that came across on camera, but it adds a lot of kind of like, you know, thump to it, especially when the depth dial, this one here, is cranked all the way. So, and again, they're very simple pedals, these. You know, the phaser's got 1 dial, the distortion and the sustain have got 2, and that's it. You know, there's not option paralysis mode in any of these pedals, which I like as well. But this is a really cool sustain pedal. Compressor sustain pedal. It's really nice. It's nice just to kind of like have it like both set at 12 o'clock, which is kind of like where I had it, where it sounded the best. When you start cranking the depth all the way up, it gets that kind of like, it gets too compressed, but it's still really cool. I still really like the sound. It reminds me of John Frusciante's kind of like solo stuff, if that makes any sense. Like, you know, some of that really heavily compressed guitar work that he does, where you can hear the guitars kind of like almost popping. It's really, really cool. But yeah, I really like it. That's a really cool pedal. My least favourite is the distortion. It sounds good. It really is. It's not a bad pedal, and, you know, it's not at all. It sounds great, but for me, it's just a little bit too harsh around the edges. It's a great sounding pedal. You've only got 2 dials on it. You've got level and depth, and that's all you've got. I wish it had a tone dial. That is the one thing I wish this distortion pedal had, because I'd like to just take it a little bit darker, but I can't. You heard it as well when I demoed this with the golden plexi on, and you also heard it straight into the amp, totally clean. But it's great, and it's a very old-style distortion sound. You know what I mean? It's not very modern. It's very kind of oldie-worldy. But it's just a little bit too bright for my ear, personally. It's a bit too sharp around the edges. But I still love it. It still sounds great. And again, I can imagine there's a lot of people out there who will like the sound of this. So yeah, Poochoo, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Which one was your favourite as well? Let me know which one. Was it the phaser? Was it the compressor sustain pedal? Or was it the distortion? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, Poochoo, let me know your thoughts on the size. Because, again, I think in today's modern world we're living in, I reckon doing pedals this big is a bit silly. You know, in my opinion. I get why they did it. I totally get why they did it. I just don't. I think it limits the market for this pedal, because not a lot of people are going to go out and buy a pedal that takes up the space of 2 mini pedals. You know, I'm not necessarily saying make these mini, but you could make them say the size of like a Phase 90. You know, or something like a, you know, the Electro Harmonics kind of pedals, the mini pedals. And I reckon they would. I reckon they'd be a lot better that way, because they're great pedals. They sound great. It's just like they say, the biggest downfall is the size. It really is. But what do you think, PeopleTube? Let me know in the comment section below. Like I said, I understand why they made them this big and why they look like this. I just feel it's a bit of a bit of an oversight, especially in today's world. You know, of extremely good mini pedals. I think this is kind of a bit of a, I don't know, bit of an oversight. Anyway, PeopleTube, hope you enjoyed this vid on the new orange pedals, distortion, phaser, and sustain. I know it said overdrive, which it kind of is in a way. But let me know what you thought about them in the comment section below. I really, really like them. Massive thanks to Orange for sending these to me for review. I'm really, really enjoying using them and messing around with them. Especially the phaser. I really, really like the phaser. Anyway, yeah, if you like the videos I do here on the channel, please consider becoming a patron at Patreon. Really helps me out, keeps this channel going. Link to that is down there in the description box, as well as link to me Bandcamp, where you can listen to me music. It's down there as well. Yeah, other than that, PeopleTube, I hope you enjoyed this vid, and I will see you again very soon for another one. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, and goodbye now. Cheers. 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 What do you think, Orange Pedal? I don't really know.